Xiaoyu from Texas A&M. I've been with A&M since 2017. It was great to work with A&M communities. And today I'm at ITE. This is not the first ITE I am, so I'm excited to present my work here. This poster program that I'm presenting here is related with vulnerable road users, and it was how we can study them in order to enhance the safety in the communities. Vulnerable road user in here is about pedestrian, bike, and e-scooter, and all kinds of people that are traveling in the road that without the shell. So that is how we define vulnerable road user. My study is about how the vehicle is interacted with the vulnerable road user, which is pad and bike on the street. So we're using machine learning, AI, which is a big topic these days, so that we can analyze the important factors that are contributing to the vulnerable road user at potential conflict points that maybe leads as a crash in the future. And this study is more like a pre-crash study. You don't see the crash happening yet, but you study using the data so that you can understand the safety points at the intersection. There's a lot of data these days in transportations. There are data that, like my study, that is external to the intersection, hang the camera at the intersection so it can see all the vehicles and the pedestrian bike that is traveling at the intersections. On the other point, there are data that inside of the vehicles or the cell phone that is using by the people or vulnerable road user these days. So we can all analyze those data to enhance safety these days. There are data around us every day, and there are companies, technology companies that work with city engineers to enhance the safety. There are a lot of safety countermeasures that the engineer or the university do to help the cities and help the communities. For example, we put in different signal phase so that we can make sure that the pedestrian and bike are using at the intersection are safe. We put on pavement signs to improve the safety at certain dangerous locations so that the users or even the disability people can advance their safety at the intersections. One important factor that come out from my safety paper these days is about who comes first at the intersection, at the conflict point. Sometimes pedestrians were the first that come at the intersection. Some are the vehicles. That make a major difference in terms of how we study the safety at the intersections. I would suggest for the future researchers to separate those two kinds in order to provide more advanced safety countermeasurements. So one thing that I've talked about is the critical point. And critical point is different from crash. Crash happened after mass, but critical point happened before it. So here I studied the vehicle-to-vehicle crash with City of Bellevue at these locations. And TransSoft Solution is a company that helping us to process the data. We're able to identify vehicle-to-vehicle conflicts versus vehicle-to-pedestrian conflicts and study those separately. All these studies are actually involved from the ITE competition that Texas A&M was in with the Vision Zero competitions 2 years ago. So we're able to use those data and advance our study these days. Another thing I pointed out over here are the study sites. For here, we study 6 different geometry intersections, as well as they are distributed well in the City of Bellevue. In the future, we're able to expand this to 20 intersections. But these 6 are with different traffic volume or with different crash behaviors. So those are very classic, traditional 6 intersections that we are looking over here. This is a frequency histogram of the conflict points. As we can see that there are different frequency map, vulnerable road user versus vehicle-only conflicts map. So you can see that these two are different. So when you study vulnerable road user, you have to have a different kind of angle compared to when you study the vehicle-only conflicts. Results is line over here. Again, as I mentioned, speed are very important when you're looking at the critical conflicts, as well as the average travel time, how it approaches the intersections. We also take a look at who comes first at the intersection, as I mentioned before, if it's a pedestrian first, bike first, or the vehicle first. Those are making a major contribution for the studies. So we do need to take a look over those factors.